All right, guys, I'm excited to today to talk with Ben Rossi of ATP and InMotion. ATP, or Ability to Perform, is more of the personal training fitness side, where they're working with athletes and competitors, and just people looking to get better every day, which is their motto. And then also with InMotion, Ben is one of the founding members of InMotion, and I'm going to let him kind of explain more about what InMotion is and his role with InMotion. But I've worked with Ben now for a few years. He was gracious enough to kind of house us at ATP in Warrensville Heights for our PT clinic, and I've gotten to know him very well, and excited to talk with him about what he's doing with his athletes and with people with Parkinson's disease, and kind of how those worlds blend. So, Ben, what's going on?
How you doing, Nick? Thanks for having me, man. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Glad we made this work. So, tell us a little bit about InMotion. What is InMotion, and what is the purpose of
InMotion side, sure thing. So as you mentioned, I am a chief program officer and founding member of InMotion, and InMotion is it's truly a holistic center of excellence for people living with Parkinson's disease in the greater Cleveland area. It is a complete wellness center, meaning that we offer services from wellness to healing arts to support and education, and serve over a population of about 1,100 people with Parkinson's. And all services are free of charge at InMotion. We are a nonprofit organization that we founded, I think we're pushing almost 7 years now. So we're super excited about it. It's a neat opportunity, and I'll continue on with this a bit. I learned a lot about getting into the Parkinson's side of this world from a longtime client of mine, and some work I did with the Wounded Warrior Project early on. I had the opportunity to work with a gentleman by the name of Sergeant Siobhan Phillips, and he was, unfortunately, his team rolled over a roadside bomb in Iraq, and I ended up working with him for about 3 years. And this is a gentleman that was wheelchair bound, feeding tube, breathing tube, and it really took me in a different direction in my career in terms of developing a different form of passion to work with people. And around the same time, a longtime client of mine and late founder, Lee Handel of InMotion, was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and he called me up the day and he said, what do you know about Parkinson's? I've been diagnosed. And I said, I have no idea. It's something I've never worked with, but I'm willing to learn. And he goes, well, that's great, because I'm sending you Friday, 2 days from now, to Columbus to learn about this new exercise program for Parkinson's. And I of course loved it. I went, had no problem going, but it was there that I learned a lot about Parkinson's and the power of exercise for Parkinson's, and how to become a community exercise leader for Parkinson's. And so I brought it back to ATP, and I brought it back to the Mentor Senior Center, and 5 people turned into 30 people before I knew it, and the class was packed to the gills with all walks of life of Parkinson's. And along the same time frame all this was going on, University Hospitals locally was putting on a boot camp, the first ever boot camp for Parkinson's. And this was, of course, I attended, and there was about 200 people that came with Parkinson's. It was the first time that I got to see a community of people with Parkinson's under one roof. Really a lot of light bulb moments, like, wow, there's a lot more people that deal with this than I thought of. And here I come to find out that there's 35,000 people in Northeast Ohio with this. This boot camp's important because it really was the foundation of why we started InMotion. And this is a boot camp. It's like your normal conference. The morning is PT, OT, neurologist, movement disorder specialist, nutritionist, talking about what's trending with Parkinson's. And the afternoon is breakout sessions, boxing, this delay the disease exercise, forms of yoga, dance. And individuals were allowed to participate in certain things. And then 4 in the afternoon came around and people left. And that was interesting to me because they brought the boxing in from Indianapolis. They brought delay the disease from Columbus. They brought dance in from New York. There was no local programming going on for Parkinson's at this time. And I participated again the next year. Pardon me?
What year is this? How long ago?
Oh, this about 12 years ago now, I'd say. Okay. It was. Yeah, about 12 years ago. And so I went again the next year. The crowd was larger. There was like 600 people, and again, the same effect. They were still bringing in these people. I had started doing some local programming, but it wasn't enough. So I reached out to these organizations and was able to form a team of coaches and I said, what would it be like to maybe open up something like that here? And And late Lee Handel, the late Alan Goldberg, Dr. Karen Jaffe, and Dr. David Riley. There's 5 of us as founders. Um, we just developed a vision to go after this and to start something that was free of charge for individuals with PD, because we didn't want there to be any barriers to why you participate or not. I mean, fortunately, we're in a very philanthropic community in Cleveland, so we're so many foundations, Mount Sinai, Cleveland Foundation, and a lot of others in the area, local philanthropists, just have helped fund our mission to do this. At our old space, ATP, because now we're in a new one, was 14,000 square feet, and I had trained a landlord, and there was all I needed was 7,000 for ATP, and so we put a big wall up between this space. And I really begged her to hang on to it, because we had this vision of blowing a hole in the wall and starting InMotion and creating this community. And long and short is we pulled that off, and we're approaching our 7th year of just a fantastic organization. We do so many great things at InMotion, and we're really strategic in our approach, starting from orientation and when we meet our clients. I mean, because I think the biggest thing we've learned since we started InMotion is that there's a serious lack of education, almost a disconnect from when you get diagnosis to you meet a neurologist, you get a diagnosis, and they really don't know what they've been diagnosed with. So we worked really hard on developing and we teamed up with a foundation called Davis Finney Foundation to develop an 8-week curriculum called PD 101, which really takes in clients, and teaches them how to become a self-advocate for what they've been diagnosed with, from A to Z, from medication to physical wellness to how to talk to your doctor, so on and so forth. And we tied that in conjunction with a foundational level of programming, so we can really teach, about the idea of amplitude and training, and focus on multitasking and working bigger, and teaching our mentality so that they can go into our community. So I think it's important to note that we have been strategic since day one. We've always started a baseline assessment with every person with Parkinson's. We do it a little bit different in a group setting. And then that steers us on a path that allows us to see valuable results, to talk to funders about our results, to keep our services free of charge, and internally allows us as coaches to guide them on a specific path and direction at InMotion. We have 4 levels of programming: wheelchair-based, chair-based, and then on and on. So it goes yellow, green, orange, and blue to the most capable. So when they leave this assessment protocol, we're able to insert them in the community so that they can participate in great programming. I mentioned the late Alan Goldberg, and he's an important client because he was a gentleman that he had a severe case of Parkinson's, and I worked with him for many, many years. And he would come see us 6 days a week, whether working with me or doing a boxing program. He would start every morning in a mindfulness type practice. He would come see myself or the boxing coach, and then he would go home. And this is a gentleman, wheelchair bound, very dyskinetic, would literally sit post-exercise in front of a canvas and paint these beautiful paintings, and they literally line the halls of InMotion. And it was that, as the program officer, I really took that to heart and said, well, I should be able to offer that style of training to everybody that walks through our doors, no matter what level they are at. So we go from assessment, we focus on expressive movement-based classes. That is like your mindfulness practice, your dance, your Tai Chi. You participate in strength, performance, power. That's our Better Everyday program, or boxing program, or our spinning type program. And then we get into creative arts and creative thinking, where they can participate in handwriting or do some type of art class or dance, drumming, singing, that type of stuff. Really, really terrific stuff. We also offer support and education, and the idea was to be as complete as possible and really meet people with Parkinson's head on. Really, really a terrific organization. I think one more piece, if I could add it to it, Nick, was I'd like to read something to you that is really how we motivate someone with Parkinson's at InMotion. And it's just something that I wrote to my coaches, and it's a culmination of a lot of stuff that speaks to our mentality, what we look at, and so on and so forth. So if you don't mind,
Sure.
Our approach to a person living with PD is much different than you might expect. Catering to the disease as a coach is an art form in itself. It's not a pat on the back, feel sorry for you mentality. We focus on a 212-degree mentality, and that is, at 211 degrees, water's hot, but at 212 degrees, water boils, and the water boils, it produces steam, and steam can power a locomotive. Just 1 degree difference can create so much change. And the same goes for a person with Parkinson's. It's essential to develop a 1% better everyday mentality, to wake up with the thought of doing more today than you did yesterday, just a little bit more. As a coach, we instill into them the value and the words of, it's like our mantra, good, better, best, never let it rest. Your good is better and your better is best. That's essential. We live and die by this at InMotion. It is empowering, and every person who steps through our doors wears that as a patch on their sleeve as armor. And as each person begins to believe this, it starts to become contagious, and that's how our tribe grows. Our goal is to teach our clients to leave stigma at the door, because there's a lot of stigma attached to Parkinson's, which is why we wanted to attach ATP and InMotion together. So general population athletes can be training at the same time that someone with Parkinson's is in the room. We help them realize they need to embrace their situation and not hide from it. We help them understand that they're in control and need to take charge of making a difference in themselves. And we teach them that they have a choice either to be a worrier with this or to be a warrior. And when a community of warriors comes together, a powerful tribe develops. And a pack of driven individuals creates a can-do mentality that is unstoppable against our isolating disease. So being in the trenches together forms a bond that can't be broken. Surrounding themselves with peers in InMotion who are fighting Parkinson's every day helps them to set their symptoms aside, curb their depression, focus on friendships, relationship building, and importantly, communication. But it really offers them truly a safe place to land, which is just unheard of. And you know, InMotion is truly one of a kind. It is a facility that I've traveled the world. I've been to Japan for conferences. I work with people around the world on a daily basis trying to figure this out, and people want to know how to bring InMotion to where they are, because it's just one of a kind. And we're proud of it. We're damn proud of it, for sure.
Yeah, man. There's just so many great things you said in that statement. The first thing you mentioned was trying to create an environment where they became their own advocate.
Yes.
And I thought that was very interesting. I just filmed an episode with Caitlin Glenn, a physical therapist friend of mine. And we were talking about just people with pain and how important that is to kind of take control of your situation and make sure you find the right people. And the fact that you started with that, you know, and somebody that gets a diagnosis like Parkinson's disease, right? I mean, that can be a big, it can impact somebody a lot of different ways. So to start off with this idea of, hey, become your own advocate, I think that's just so cool. How do you guys emphasize that? Like, what is an onboarding? What are you mentioned some of the physical fitness tests that you guys
right.
have. What's an onboarding session for somebody with Parkinson's disease? When they walk in the door, what are some of the things you're looking for right away, and whether that's emotional, cognitive, or physical?
Well, that's a terrific question. And that's why, you know, we don't essentially know that from the get-go. We have to help them. We have to help understand each other. They like I said, start from that orientation where we take them through, you know, this is InMotion, they get a tour, so on and so forth. But it's the PD 101 where we start to deep dive and we learn more about them individually. This is a small group environment where there's 12 individuals with Parkinson's, and we begin to share a discussion of what we're experiencing versus what they're experiencing. And it becomes they're helping each other out to understand the disease. So it's not that we see it immediately. You see the physical signs of it. Are you someone with a walker or wheelchair? Are you able to move on your own, you know, that without assistance or a care partner? These are things that we see right away. But you don't know enough about someone's psyche until you actually deep dive into it. And that's why we learn this as we go. We started this, we're starting our 7th year, and we're about 3 years in on this PD 101 approach. It took time to really to see how we could meet people head on, so that we can learn and deep dive more into these issues and truly help them understand, yes, you need to become a self-advocate and you need to develop self-efficacy, which is why we tied in the physical component of it and teaching you how to exercise and have the belief that you can get better by doing certain exercises. So maybe that's my best answer for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a challenging endeavor to figure out where that person's psyche is
Right.
without, you know, one-on-one consult and all that other kind of stuff in the group settings that you guys are doing it. And I've been seeing, you know, kind of one-off, seeing what you guys do.
Sure.
And I know about the physical benefits of exercise and balance training and Parkinson's, and you know, from the rehab stuff that I've done over the years, you know, I'm very aware of the physical benefits of exercise. But the coolest thing that I take in when I see in one of the InMotion's classes is the community that you're referencing. Everybody knows each other. There's smiles and high fives walking in and out of the door. the breakouts, like you guys do, like the Better Everyday breakout.
Oh, absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing I missed since COVID, right? Is that you don't have
Oh,
that. Like,
you and me both at all of them. Trust me, we
yeah,
miss it so much. It is a big component. And you mentioned community. I mean, that is truly that's our bread and butter. And I think that's what is a separating factor between maybe a boxing class down the street for Parkinson's versus a complete community center where you can, yeah, it's a soft place to land. You can work together, you can empathize together, you can cry together, and it's an important factor in such an isolating disease and I'm proud that you got to see that. I think that's important, and that's a big piece of what we do.
yeah, it's been awesome. In the new facility, if we ever get back to in-person stuff, you talk about a place to land. I mean,
You
it is
kidding me?
beautiful.
It's amazing.
When you walk in, you're just wow. You know, there's
It's a wow factor for sure, and it's going to really open up so many new possibilities. I mean, our original space was quite small, which is why we really needed to use ATP the way we used it. Now we have these gigundous rooms and rooms, a healing arts center, a place to do physical wellness, a place for boxing, and we're going to be able to see more people, get past 1,100 people and really reach that. There's 35,000 people. We're not seeing enough. So the opportunity to run simultaneous classes and to do these things is going to be amazing. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I know you guys have done a pretty fantastic job of dealing with the restrictions and things that are in place with COVID. You're doing a lot of Zoom classes. A lot of things are online right now.
Yeah.
What else have you guys done to make adjustments as far as COVID?
That's an awesome question. I mean, because COVID is it's such a current issue right now, right?
Yeah.
You look at two things. I reference two things. When someone hands you lemons, you make lemonade, or you look at the Post-it. And this is a guy that made glue. A guy that made glue, and he created a glue that wasn't sticky enough. So what did he do? He created Post-it notes. And I think that those two things are awesome. And COVID it's truly a defining time in terms of character and leadership. And where do you go? And studying the industry at the time, right when it happened, from an ATP standpoint, it was, well, this is do or die time. Sorry. Still there?
Yeah.
The computer just jumped. Okay, sorry. That won't happen again. And it really, it's do or die time, and the industry is going to change in a major way. And how have you prepared yourself to do so? And I really met with all of my coaches, and at that time, there was about 15 of us, and I ran an independent contractor business, and it really, unfortunately, it shifted. The entire business shifted. ATP had to shift, and we had to go virtual. And of course, being away for such a long time, we want to thrive. We don't want to fall down, and it won't let us fall down. What are we going to do to go on? And I encourage my coaches to start reading specific books to learn how to do things. And long and short is that there's now 6 of us, including you, Nick, that have formed this amazing team at ATP. And we are a team now. We're all a part of this together, and we have really stepped up to the plate. And instead of falling down during the time of COVID, we seeked out as much opportunity as we could. And not only did we convert all of our clients, in that learning curve of getting people to learn how to do Zoom and all that stuff, not only did we convert our clientele base to Zoom, we have a business all over the country now. I mean, I go from Maine to Boston to Chicago to Florida to New York to Michigan to LA. I mean, it's crazy what's going on now. And it's just because the willingness, that character, that leadership, the willingness to step up, try something new, not be afraid to try it, and to take a new direction has really landed us on our feet during this COVID time. In addition to moving the whole company to a new building, from an InMotion standpoint, this is a disease that doesn't stop. And when we shut our doors down, I believe it was March, 16th, maybe it was. It was a Friday. And I grabbed my coaches and said, this doesn't stop. We can't stop. We have to continue to go where we are. We were seeing about 2,000 class visits a month at that time. And we needed to make sure that we found a level that we could keep our people engaged. So over the weekend, I'm not even kidding you, we're talking all these levels of exercise. Every coach, I gave them the charge of develop a video. Let's get a video series going. Let's get going. So by Monday, 2 days later, we had a complete video series for every class that we offered to keep our clients engaged at every level. It was the biggest hustle ever. And that was very successful, but we quickly knew that we could do the Zoom thing. Let's see if we can pull off Zoom with our people with Parkinson's and see what happens. And I'm just proud to say that we got our full class schedule on Zoom. Every single class is offered on Zoom. Our attendance is 20 plus per class. And we've seen about 15,000 class visits since COVID-19 started for people with Parkinson's. Now, you missed the community aspect. I mean, we sit and talk. We have a 10-minute discussion before we kick their butts. But, I mean, other than that, it's been good. It's been a cool challenge, in my opinion. And if you could find any positivity out of this time, I think it's all of that. I mean, it's being able to take the lead and go and find a new direction for a couple organizations has been just an awesome task.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, it's definitely changing the game on how we're doing things.
Yeah.
But again, it's been really cool just to see how you guys have adapted, especially in the InMotion side, because that's a population that it would be easy to say, oh, there's too many hurdles, right? Like,
Right.
Are people able to get on the internet? Are people able to do Zoom? And it's a big group. And so the fact that you guys have done that so successfully is awesome.
We went through those hurdles, that's for sure.
I'm sure.
A lot of phone calls with a lot of people. Right. But we got it.
We tried to do a Christmas gift exchange on Zoom, and it was a disaster. And there was 8 people. Come on. Oh, it's crazy. Anyway, you obviously wear multiple hats in this scheme. ATP is more of a more of a personal training fitness for the adult athlete, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
How do those two worlds interact, and what have you learned from maybe the InMotion side that you take into ATP or vice versa?
Well, like I said in the beginning, the interaction was a key component to both facilities. I think it's important to have passion and see what goes on in other people's lives in terms of Parkinson's. So to merge the two environments was a big factor in erasing stigma with that and to get other people involved. ATP is a little bit different animal, and it takes the right mindset, and it takes a specific strategy to really operate these two businesses at the same time. We really focus a lot on readiness at ATP and just being able to take on the game of life and that type of stuff and look at it in terms of that. And you can look at that from an athletic standpoint. You can look at that and relate that to Parkinson's as well. I started this career as a young man in sports, and I played youth sports and baseball and football, and became the captain of a Menor high school football team, and went on to play college football at Baltimore College, and even head coached youth sports for about 15 years as my son was growing up, and then just really got involved in it. But it was about 12 years into my 24 years that I got involved at IMG Academy in Florida. And hopefully I'm not going off task here, but I think it's important to understand, where our mindset comes from at ATP. Mm-hmm. And being at IMG Academy was a huge, huge piece for me. It was there that I learned, what it takes to train athletes at a world-class level, and had the opportunity to travel the country and run combines with Under Armour, and a really cool opportunity. I wasn't a gym owner at that time. I was really a young trainer that spent time going in the schools, talking with kids about childhood obesity, doing vacation prep, wedding prep, working with general population type situation. But I realized after my time there that if athletes are the most in shape and prepared in the world, both physically and mentally, why can't everyone think that way? Why can't everyone train that way? Why can't more people do this? And this was like before CrossFit came around and some of these things, which I love it all. I think it's all important. This really became the beginnings of ATP, developing a performance training for all people. And I think that's a major tagline of who we are. How do you do performance for every population? And the essence of our brand at ATP is to be prepared. We're always ready. We're ready always. And we look at everyone as an athlete, whether you're someone with Parkinson's or when playing is your sport, kids playing sports, when training is your sport, or when competing is your sport. And really developing an I can do it attitude and combined with athletic ready body, it gives athletes of all ages and abilities a physical confidence, to really take on any challenge that life offers them. Um, I like to say that attitude and mindset are what ignite the discipline to form a new habit. And readiness is truly the foundation of living a vibrant life. And that's how I really approach both businesses in terms of preparedness, readiness, how to merge communities together. Um, that's really where it comes from. And that was the stomping ground and starting point of this whole thing 24 years later, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's interesting to see how it's evolved
Oh, that's awesome.
from, you know, a high sports level to, you know, working with more of an adult population, I would say. But I was, when we were prepping for this, I was looking at the website, your website, and kind of that idea of prepare physically and mentally to take on the game of life was kind of one of the taglines that I picked up there. And I love that, because that's kind of when I looked at my business, right? How are we going to get people ready to do the activities they love? And in my world, pain's usually what brought them in there. But, you know, you're seeing people at different stages. So, but I think the outcome is the same, right? We're trying to prepare people to be ready for whatever.
100%.
And I'm sure that doesn't change a ton if it's somebody with Parkinson's or somebody that just maybe hasn't done things in a while, right?
No, because people are people, right? I mean, if you dumb everything down and simplify the world, it's like, this is how people need to think. This is the way it works. And it's on us as leaders to really encourage them to find this path and offer them direction. And that's what we do well.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome. From a physical assessment standpoint, you call your training system BMS, balance, movement, and strength. What elaborate on that? Because again, from a rehab physical therapy world, I love it, right? I think those are, you don't have balance, nothing else plays, and then you can move up, and then, you know, endurance capacity. But how do you guys assess that, and where did you come up with that?
Well, I mean, it really came from, everything kind of stemmed when I did that training at IMG and other stuff. But, you know, as people participate in our programming, we do focus on balance, movement, and strength. And it's on it's a basis of all that we do. Obviously, following a proper warm up, doing dynamic based warm up, and truly getting the body hot enough so that the body can respond and muscles can respond. We focus on balance first, and we do it because it's the foundation of all movement, and it really contributes to movement efficiency or movement economy. And that movement is the development of like a coordinated body, you know, and overall performance-based abilities. And of course, strength is what builds a strong mind and muscle connection. It's really our communication system in our body developing the strength, and that creates the functional movement patterns that we need to do. I look at these synergistically in a way that when they're all combined and these elements are combined, that's how a person's ability to perform improves. Simple, really. I mean, they're really, it is the basis of all movement. You know, you asked about assessment and how we go about that. You know, beyond investigation and beyond contracts and waivers and liabilities, of course, we believe in static postural assessment. You get into movement screens, flexibility screens, balance screens, muscle endurance testing.
Are there any specific screens that you're using? Is it something you guys created? What are you looking at?
No, it really is. It really follows the ACE protocol and ACSM protocol of assessment. So no, we're doing a lot of the basic. That part of it is a lot of the stuff and common assessments that you'd see out there. But the one that we do different is that we finish our assessment process with our ability to perform challenge, and that is, you know, our training it's very endurance based. It's competition based. It really wants you to push to your max. It's super important to us, but to do things the right way. So we go through about 8 different assessments at the last point, and this is something that we utilize every few months with our clients. We start with a pressing overhead squat, which is really your mobility and stability, integrated movement type move. We use a foam balance pad to do some single leg switch stuff for balance, so it's a little more moving balance. Utilize the TRX for an isolated lower body strength, so reverse lunge move, TRX row, TRX press. And then, of course, we get into rotation or axial mobility using a rotational medicine ball slam against a wall. We use multi-directional agility as a major tool to see how well people, their movement economy, how well can you move and go through hurdles, that type of stuff. Of course, we do a field run. And these are all about 60-second assessments. So it really pushes you. A minute of work is pretty tough. like to see how well you can do, push to the max. And again, it's something, like I said, we do every few months. And we do that because it really ignites competition within yourself. It gives you, we're not just training to train. I mean, yes, when you intake somebody, you learn their goals, you learn a lot about them and where they want to go. But I think it's important for programming to follow along with that in terms of helping them achieve their goal in a way of where, okay, I have a few months now until my next time we're going to go through this. I want to make sure I'm able to kick butt on that. It gives you that, it forces you to be a little more committed, to work a little harder, to reach those goals the next few months. And we utilize that in InMotion as well. You know, we assess every 6 months. And as soon as we finish an assessment, I congratulate everybody and say, all right, you have 6 months to your next assessment. And it's that whole mindset game, and it's really helping them be prepared for the next, what's coming next.
It looks like the combine when you guys are doing the assessment.
I love it. You said it, man. Could you imagine, like when I was with UA and we were doing the combines around there was 250 athletes that would come in, and I was always in charge of like integrated movement, you know, rotational T balance and all this. I remember at one specific combine, I was coaching up one, assessing him, and I looked over and there was like 35 athletes standing in line for me to do, you know, one at a time. You learn so much from that environment. And I think that that's a big reason why we can adapt our assessments the way we do, why we can do group-based assessments with InMotion. You know, we'll have 20 people assess at a time with a partner. It allows you to work the room differently, and you have different eyes when it comes to that. That's a big reason why we love to assess.
Sure. Yeah, and that assessment process is so important, right? Because it gamifies it a little bit. Like it gives us a target, it gives you something you're looking at. I think it's huge to keep yourself focused. Sure. From an ATP standpoint, who's your ideal client? Like, who are you working with mostly? You know, who are the people that look for personal training or small group training the most, and what's your perfect person?
No, that's a great question. And you know, early on we were seeing everybody. I mean, I'd have small teams in there, small young athletes coming in, individual type stuff. We'd even have some more experienced athletes coming in at collegiate level, professional level. Our business has really merged into that general population where training is their sport. These are the maybe avid tennis player group. We have a lot of them. We see a lot of golfers, and we see just our you know, general population that comes in now. And we do a lot of private. We do a lot of small group sizes that really go from 3 to 6. And we definitely all see a handful of those every day. And a lot of private training as well. And but yeah, that's really who our major population is right now.
Sure. And I'll just say, you know, again, we share a space now, and from a COVID standpoint, you guys are so spread. I mean, the gym is beautiful. It's huge. It's set up in a way that everybody's able to really spread out really nicely. Yes. It's been cool to see people in there working out and moving.
Miss it.
And it seems like it's a very safe environment to be able to do it.
It's a very safe environment. You know, of course, we have when you walk in the door, you can check your temperature when you walk in. There's sanitizer everywhere. Everyone cleans like crazy people in there. We think we lost our thumbprints and everything. Our fingerprints are gone from wiping machines down too much. Well, maybe not enough.
All that cleaning supplies are gone.
All that cleaning supply. We don't know what it's doing to our fingers yet. But no, it's a cool environment because, yes, we do have some people that come in and we all wear masks and so on and so forth. But there could be someone working with a client on one side of the gym, and then 2 or 3 other coaches on a Zoom call spread out on the other. I mean, it's all over the place, and it just makes for a different kind of camaraderie with your team. That's for sure. But yeah, we got a nice, safe environment for sure. Love our new home.
Yeah, it's awesome, and everybody loves the wall-mounted thermometer, the forehead thermometers.
Oh, it's the best. So easy. Well, I mean, when we first started this, you had to run up to your client, put that thing to their head. I hated doing that, you know. Yeah. But yeah, now it's so easy. It's so simple.
It's like it honestly, it's a way for me to know that somebody got there because it beeps.
Well, yeah, right.
So I put it in my when somebody comes in, hey, when you get there, check your temperature, and I hear the beep, and I know, okay, my client's here.
They're here. If we need to hook a microphone up to that, let me know. A megaphone. We'll project it for you even more.
Yeah, we need some kind of Bluetooth in my room. Hey, your person's here. So. No, man, I think this has been awesome. It's really cool to again, I think it's just cool to see what's happened with InMotion even since I've been around. I mean, it's just on days when this is pre-COVID, but man, when it's thumping, man, there's just people everywhere and the energy's huge. And I can't wait to see that energy again, especially in this new building. I mean, it's
100%.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome in that new space.
Yes, sir.
So as we wrap up, is there anything that, you would want somebody to know, from a personal training standpoint? Hey, even if you don't work with us, here's something that, man, if you could take up this one habit or pick up this one thing, it would be so huge.
I could go a million directions with that, Nick. I mean, well,
it could be a whole podcast episode itself.
Rewind the podcast again and listen to all my stuff about mindset, because that's where it starts. And if you're someone that's on the fence, or get involved in it. Don't be a New Year's resolution person. Get out there and develop a mindset to create a lifestyle change for yourself and do things properly. Go from A to Z in your workouts. Don't be complete in your programming. Whether you're an athlete or what, it's important to be holistic, to train yourself all over, warm up properly, cool down properly, and train safely. Do things right. Don't rush through programming. Learn the right techniques. Yeah,
do you have any resources or from a mindset standpoint? Because like you said, if the mindset's not right, nothing happens. And in my just using myself as an example, like, life's busy. It's really easy to get distracted and get away from a new habit or a new objective. Do you have any resources or things you recommend or say to people from a mindset coaching standpoint?
Wow, resources, I could go all over the place. I love to read. I'm a reading junkie. I don't know how I ever find time, but I do. Mm-hmm. There's some great books. The Secret of the World Class is one of my favorite books. It's called The Secrets of the World Class, and it really is just deep-rooted mindset. Another one is The Way of the SEAL by Mark Devine. Navy SEALs is something that I've studied quite a bit. And if you want to talk about mindset and grit, that's the way to go. That's another great book. It's right here, Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance. You become knowledgeable by reading. That's what I do. That's what my claim to fame, man. And I read like a crazy man. I want to know everything I can.
Sure. It's something that I think going through school, I read because I had to, right? Like, you got to prep for this and you got to have this stuff memorized and have this knowledge base and whatever. And I think for many years after school, I wanted nothing to do with recreational reading. I would read, research articles, and I would do things related to my career, but like mindset and job and career, like that kind of reading, I wanted nothing to do with. But recently, because I drive so much, I've been doing a lot of audiobooks.
No, that's smart.
And like you're saying, once you start, you kind of get addicted to it. Like, there's access to people that are super successful, have figured out things. You can absorb it through their books. And
no, it's so smart. And if you could focus on today's youth, or you could focus on upcoming trainers and that upcoming fitness professionals, that's the name of the game. There's so many people before you that have done some amazing things. Why wouldn't you want to learn a nugget or two from what they have to say and apply it to your life, however that may be? And I think that, looking at our COVID-19 time and talking about like the Post-it and that kind of stuff, it's not a means to an end. It's a matter of finding a new direction, right? That's what water does, right? When there's a rock in the way, does it stop at the rock or does it go around it? It flows around it, right? Flow like water. And that's the way life is. And always seek new paths, always find new journeys, new beginnings. That's the name of the game. That's a recommendation I give to any young person coming up today, for sure.
That's awesome, man. Can't say it any better than that. Probably a good way to wrap it up. We'll do another one here. We'll pick another topic.
I can't wait.
Do a deep dive. We got to get some of the coaches from InMotion ATP on here.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So we'll keep it. All right, man. So we're going to link people up with InMotion and ATP. You guys do a pretty good job of posting stuff on social. Obviously, InMotion's doing all kinds of things on. Do people? this is a question I should ask you. Is there a way for people right now to start with InMotion? Like, obviously, you're working with existing clients. Are you guys onboarding new people?
We are. Yeah, we just started with 12 new ones yesterday. When we closed down, we were about one new client a day. We had to put a halt on our orientation process until we developed it virtually, and now we're back in full swing about that one new client a day approach. If you're someone that wants to get involved, you go to beinmotion.org, and there's a simple way to get signed up and get started on there for sure. And if you're not someone that wants to get involved in InMotion, but you're looking for exercise for Parkinson's, that type of stuff, you have full access to all of our videos that are on, not our Zoom links, but all of our videos to participate in exercise for sure.
That's awesome. InMotion.org. We'll post that. We'll post that in the notes as well. And then ATP. We'll also share your website for people looking for more active adult fitness kind of stuff.
Yes, yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Important. All right, Ben. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
We'll talk soon.
All right. Talk soon. Take care. Bye-bye.